Welcome to Notable Approvals, very early one today. I am Amanda Shaffer. I'm an attorney at the Shapiro law firm. Before I get to our updated case today, don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you may be watching. You're most likely watching this on repeat or on rerun since I am filming this before 9 a.m. That's how busy my day is today. And if you find this video to be helpful or know someone who may, please hit that share button so we can share, hopefully will be a wealth of information for you. I'm excited about today's case because it's in an update about at the end of the summer. I think it was at the end of August. I did a notable approval about a client who is a citizen and national of Russia who was currently living in Armenia because he fled Russia when they were recruiting for the Ukraine war, as did a lot of other Russian men in the age group that can be drafted. And he had already been approved by USCIS for an O-1 visa petition. The petition itself was approved, and this is sometimes where people get confused with immigration law. You have your immigrant visa petition, that might get approved, but that's not a visa. Then that gets transferred to the National Visa Center, and depending on the type of visa that you're applying for, and depending on which embassy you want to apply at, certain embassies say you have to be a resident of the country or a citizen of the country. So it all depends. But in his case, he didn't want to go back to Russia, and he was afraid he wouldn't be able to leave. So he had a visa to Europe, and he went to Prague to get his visa. But the problem was, if his visa wasn't approved within a certain period of time to the US, the visa to the Czech Republic and the rest of Europe expired. And because of the war with Russia, Europe said they're not going to be renewing anybody's visa for Europe from Russia. So we were kind of stuck in an issue when he goes to his interview in Prague back, I think this was in October, and they say to him that they can't approve it. And we're like, what do you mean you can't approve it? And they said, well, their reasoning was that he wasn't eligible for the visa classifications sought. Now, if you go back and watch, it was on August 19th that I did this notable approval. If you go back and watch that video, you'll see where I talk about how clearly eligible this client was for this visa. He is clearly a person of extraordinary ability in iOS app development. There's zero question about it. This was his second time getting approved with 5 years apart or 6 years apart between filings. And so he sustained that international or national acclaim throughout that whole time period, as well as before. We had a mountain of evidence. He told me when he went to the interview, I told him, bring copies of all the documents we submitted, even to USCIS, to get the petition approved. They didn't even take it. So we were very concerned. We weren't concerned that he wasn't eligible. Again, we were just concerned, like, why are they not approving this? And then they said that we couldn't even contact them for like 180 days or something ridiculous. And what happened was he left the embassy, and they wanted more evidence. So we told him, well, you don't need anything new. You've already proven your eligibility. We'll submit all the evidence again. We'll give them what we did before. So we did. And then they said, okay, don't contact us again. And then he told us, well, my visa's running out. What do I do? So we contacted the Prague embassy, and we asked them if they were either able to move embassies if it doesn't get approved before his visa runs out, or if he could send a courier. And fortunately, they said that he would be able to send a courier. I don't remember if they said he can mail it or send a courier which is literally a person physically handing it to them. And what happens is when you don't get approved initially at your visa interview, they don't take your passport, and they need your passport to put the visa in. So he has to get the visa to the passport to them, have them put the visa in, and then he has to get it back. Now, right now, he cannot enter the Czech Republic. So while this is exciting news that we found out today, that Prague finally said he can have an O-1 visa, a U.S. embassy in Prague, I should say. We are now looking at a situation where we have to get it. We have to get them his passport and get it back. So we are contacting the embassy in Armenia to see, well, the Prague embassy or the Czech Republic embassy, to see if they'll give him a temporary, visa to enter the Czech, just for the purpose of giving the U.S. embassy his passport to get the visa in, and then he can book his flight and come to the U.S. So this is exciting news that we're not, there might be another update coming on this case, depending on what happens, if it's not smooth sailing and there's something interesting. But I wanted to talk about what happened here, because I know there are a lot of displaced persons out there, especially Russian nationals, citizens and nationals at this time, because of the war in Ukraine. And Ukrainians are there's a whole they have all other different types of relief available to them to try to come over here, which you can always contact us about if you were one of those people looking to come here from the Ukraine. But for Russians, it's a little more difficult, especially with the sanctions and everything. So my client can't even run his business anymore, and it's an American business that he works for. The petitioner is an American business, so they were having a lot of trouble, and that's the first reason why he left Russia. And then he didn't want to go back because of the draft. So the point of the story is that if you're in this situation, that there is, if you can't go back to your country, it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily get a visa, and it doesn't mean that you're stuck, or you're going to have to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be unsafe. Obviously, my recommendation is to reach out to us or other experienced immigration attorney to find out what you can do. How can you get here? Because we spent a lot of time figuring out which embassy he was able to go to, because not all embassies accept all people outside that aren't citizens of their country or residents of their country. And then he ended up not being allowed back into that country. So then we were like, do we transfer it? Can we send somebody in there? Could we get him a temporary visa? So we're still sorting out whether he can get it. He would obviously rather not give his documents to someone else and be able to just go himself, drop it off and then pick it up the next day, the next few days, whatever it is. So we are working on that now, but we're relieved. I never doubted this client's eligibility. Like I said, it was just really frustrating that he went to the interview and all they did was say, no, we don't think you're eligible, despite the fact that USCIS just approved the petition. And that's the second part of the lesson, that your petition gets approved, whether it's a non-immigrant visa or an immigrant visa, it doesn't mean that you're getting a visa, because otherwise, what's the point of the interview, right? So the interview is not a formality. They do check your eligibility, and they can disagree with USCIS. And we see this a lot more with like marriage cases or something, where they can send the approval back to USCIS and have with a request to revoke it or to get more evidence or something, because they're not allowed to make the decision on those visa petitions, but they can disagree with them and say to USCIS, you got it wrong, go fix it. So we were worried that after all of this hard work that he was going to end up in that position. Luckily, they did the right thing and improved it. And now it's just a matter of getting that visa stamp in his passport. So we do expect that to happen any day now. Once we're going to reach out to them today. He's going to reach out to them, and then hopefully, before the end of the year, if not early January, he'll be in the US and be able to continue on with his work. So that is all today for notable approvals. I know I'm a talker and this was a short one, but I said I think it was an important one to note for anyone who's out there who is not in their country of origin, who is eligible for visas to come to the US and is not sure if they're able to even apply. And then also for people who don't understand when their visa petition gets approved, but then the embassy says, well, I don't know if you're eligible, give us more information. It happens, and they're allowed to do that, and it's very frustrating. But what we told our client is what you have to keep in mind, that if they ask for something, even if you've given it to them, even if no matter what, you just give it to them again. So we told them, just give them all the evidence again. They cannot possibly deny you when they see the evidence. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, Amanda, shouldn't that have been in his file? Yes, it should have, and it probably was. Couldn't tell you what happened there. But regardless, you don't assume it is, you don't assume it isn't. They just say, we want proof of your eligibility. Well, we had all the proof in the world, so we just gave it to them again. And then it took a couple of very tense months before they got back to us and him to finally tell us that he was going to get that visa. So congratulations to our client. I can't wait for him to come here, to finally meet him in person. And now, like I said, last hurdle is just for him to literally get the visa in his passport, to physically get it. So that is all today for notable approvals. Don't forget to like us and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're watching. If you found this video helpful, you know anyone in that situation where they're outside their country of origin and wondering how they can get a visa to the US that they're eligible for, or they have an approved visa petition but then got a visa denial when they went to the interview, please hit that share button. There is help out there, and we're more than happy to help you. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.